Hey everybody, welcome to Cousin Jack Carves. So today we're going to be working on this little stylized angel. Stylized somewhat because you can see it's a suggestion of a face and not a lot of detail. With a small piece like this, we don't need a lot of detail. This is a great gift for Easter, Christmas, really any time of year. I can tell you that I've made some of these that are now bolo ties, Christmas ornaments, or even just a freestanding little figure. So it's really versatile, very popular if you're a person with an Etsy store, and fairly easy to make. So we'll take you through the steps of starting with a pattern, drawing that pattern onto a small block of wood, and then carving it out, wood burning some details, and then a finish that's really simple. Acrylic paints covered by Howard Feed and Wax. Really, really simple. So join us along the way. Subscribe to the channel, folks. I'm about to give away this little carving right here. This is angel number 3, the third one that I've carved. And I will be giving it away soon. And I do give it away to one of my subscribers every 90 days in a random drawing. Also, likes are important on YouTube. So if you feel like it, please hit the like button. Let's get started. Let's start with a closer look at our pattern. And this is something I put together in my carving journal here, and you can see the dimensions. We have a block of wood that's 2 1/4 inches high. And even though it's a 1 inch by 1 inch block, you can see I'm showing the width at 1 3/8. That's because when we carve on the corner of that block, we gain some width, and we need that width for the wings of our angel. So I'm going to show you how we'll take this pattern and transfer that onto our block of wood, just like this. And then, of course, how we get from this block of wood to our finished angel. This one's a little bit bigger. I've carved 3 of these so far. And today we're working with the original pattern that I used for the other 2, which is a little bit smaller. And the first thing we'll do is draw some lines. Okay, we want to make sure that we have our pattern transferred over. So the first lines we'll make are going to be, well, and you can see in this case, I have this block of wood that's still pretty lengthy, right? And that's because when we're carving a smaller piece like this, sometimes it's helpful to have a handle while we're carving. So you can either cut your block off to make it, 2 1/4 and start from there, or you can do like this and basically cut it off later. Like I said, it's easier for me when I'm working with a small piece to have a little bit of a handle. But the first marks we'll make then is to come down from the top, and we'll come down 2 1/4 and just make some lines on each side. That's going to be your base. That's where it's going to be cut off eventually, okay? So after you have your base drawn in, and if you need to pause the tape, go ahead, pause the tape, and then come back for the next part. After that, come up to the top, and we're going to find the center of our block. To do that, I just draw an X from one corner to the other, and then again, right? So now we have our X. That's roughly going to be the center, and then I use that to kind of get an idea about where the center lines go on each side of my block. Like that, right? All the way around. Next thing is to just use our finger as a stop, get our pencil on the line, and start making those center lines all the way around each side of our piece. These center lines are going to be reference marks for us. Yeah, I didn't hit that one, did I? There we go. The center lines are going to be reference lines. It helps us with symmetry, and it helps us with our pattern to know where we're at, okay? So now after you have your center lines drawn on, and you may have paused the video several times already, that's fine. I'm still here, right? So now after the center lines, we're going to come up 1/2 inch from the bottom to where the sides of our center line, well, first of all, pick a side for your face. Identify which corner you want to use for your face. A lot of carvers will tell you it matters which way the grain is running. I haven't really noticed much of a difference, but pick a side That'll be your front. And on your front, you want to come up from your bottom, the base that is, 1/2 inch, and just draw a line, make a mark. And then on the other side of your front over here, from the base, 1/2 inch up and make a mark. Then we're just going to angle out just nice curved line on each side, and you want them to be somewhat symmetrical, right? This is going to be the bottom of our wings, just like that. So once you have the bottom of those wings drawn in, you can check them. Sometimes it helps if you turn your drawing upside down and look at it. Sometimes you can see symmetry better upside down, believe it or not, because your eyes are sort of trained at looking at things upright. But after you've done that, we're going to put in the top of the face. So for that, from the top of your block of wood, you'll come down 1/2 inch and make a mark. That's going to be the top of the face. And then from the top of that face, measure another 1/2 inch below that and make a mark. That'll be the bottom of the face, the chin. Now, once you have those two marks in place, just make yourself a nice oval shape for your face. You can see here, in this case, that might be about 1/4 inch at the widest part from each side. Try and make it symmetrical, but do draw your line and then draw around it again so it's a little bit bigger than what you expect you're going to need. Now, once you have that face drawn in, drop down 1/8 of an inch and make a mark. That's going to be the top of the hands. And I don't want that to be really, really pointed. I do want a little bit of shape there. So from the top of the hands, we're going to come down 1/2 inch and make a mark for the bottom of the hands. Now, with this praying hands sort of shape, we're just going to make a triangle, right? Broader at the base, not pointed. Leave yourself some shape at the top for the fingers and make yourself a triangle. And that will be where the hands will be located on our carving. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is just kind of pencil in our arms. And the arms on this particular carving, you don't see much of them, right? Let me show you an example here. You don't see a lot, right? But what you do see here is that these sleeves are what you would see on almost like a choir robe, right? They're flared. And so that's the way that we'll draw that. We'll just kind of come in here, draw ourselves. And remember, gravity is going to mean that we're going to have more of the flare on the bottom than we would on the top, right? And then just draw in kind of where the elbow would be. Come back over here on this side again. Draw this sort of a flared shape. Again, we're going to have an elbow about right there. After that, we're going to just pencil in some hair. So I'm going to come from the top of the forehead here, maybe, I don't know, I'd say 1/8 of an inch. Come around, just making some hair. Bring that down all the way, touching the arm. Same thing on this side. You can make some curves in it, just curve it, bring it back around. And then with that face, now we have the hair. And we're beginning to see the shape that we need. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make these marks where the wings connect to where the hairline is. To do that, we're going to measure from the top. We're going to come down 3/4 of an inch and make a mark along where that hair is. 3/4 from the top on both sides, right? 3/4 of an inch, make a mark. And then we're going to take our ruler from that 3/4 inch mark and bring it to the corner of our piece, our block, and just mark a straight line on each side. This is going to give us an angle for the top of our wings, right? Just like that. Once you have those straight lines in, now you can use those for reference. The actual wings on the angel aren't straight, right? They curve on the top. So if we want to make our lines for that, we can kind of use this straight line and make a reference, kind of a loop underneath there like this, and like an S curve, right? On the top, it comes this way. And now I can use a reference from this side and kind of make this one symmetrical by saying, yeah, it looks like this shape. And then on the top, yep, that looks like that one. Now what we're also going to do is we're going to mark on the back of our piece. You know, we have center lines here too. But on the back of our piece, instead of kind of coming down to that 3/4 inch mark where the hair is, we're just going to come down 3/4 of an inch right on the corner on the back. And then from that 3/4 inch mark, you're going to again take your ruler and just draw that straight line to the corner of the block. You know, this is going to be excess material that's going to come out. And then while we're back here, we can go ahead and put in the mark for where the feet would be. So this is intended to be a kneeling angel with, you know, with this piece in the back that sort of suggests that the feet are back behind. Now this one being a little bit taller, it looks almost like a standing figure, which you can get away with that. If you want to go ahead and make a standing one, you could just add another 3/4 of an inch to your block of wood and make a standing angel. It would be, you know, pretty easy to make that conversion. But yeah, on the back, you make your mark 3/4 of an inch, and then make your straight lines. And then on the bottom here, we're going to come up 3/8 and 3/8 of an inch. We'll just draw a line. This is going to be where we're going to leave some wood for those feet. All right. Okay, so I think we're ready then. I think we've made all of the marks we need for reference at this point in time. Today I'm going to be using a Helvey 1 3/4 inch flex blade knife. So this knife, the actual blade profile on this knife is the exact same profile that you would find in the Helvey rough out knife. Same shape. The difference is that this being a flex blade, it's going to have a little bit thinner blade to it, allows more flex, whereas the rough out knife is more rigid. Okay? Now you can say, well, yeah, I don't have a Helvey, Jack. They're hard to come by. I understand that. I will tell you that this angel was carved with this knife. So use what you have. Just make them, you know, keep them sharp. So we'll be using this Helvey knife. The gloves I have today, I'm going to be wearing my wizard glove on my right hand, and of course then the Dex Fit on my left hand. So on the back, we'll just go ahead and make ourselves a notch. We'll start on this back side. We'll make a notch where we drew that line where the feet will be. So I'm just rocking that knife blade, putting some pressure on it, just like that. And then we're going to come up, just start removing some material off this back side. We have, you know, fair amount to remove, and we're going to take it down to where these center lines are on each side here, okay? And I'll tell you something, with this Helvey blade and this Heineke basswood, we can make short work of this whole thing and very quickly get down to where we need to be. This little angel, I'll tell you, I first drew that pattern back in the fall of 2020. And the first one I made it for my mom. I gave it to her for Christmas. And these angels are really fantastic gifts for anybody in your life that you think would appreciate it. I have had a number of people who seen postings that I put up and said they wanted to buy one. So they can be very popular. If you're a person who has like an Etsy store, you're selling some carvings, these angels I think are pretty popular. And this pattern is somewhat stylized, right? It's just a suggestion of a face. There's not a lot of detail. And that's fine because we're using a pretty small block of wood and we don't want to try too much detail. Okay, so we've pretty quickly removed that material in the back, right? Next thing I want to do is notch in the bottom of these wings on each side as a reference. I want to make sure that I'm not going to remove some wood and then have not enough space for the bottom of my wings. So I just want to put that notch in there, just an angled cut like that, and then come back up to it. And that's going to prevent me from making a mistake and removing wood that I need. Now, very often, you've seen it in the snowman tutorial, in the gnome tutorial, you'll see me taking these corners off. That's one of the first things I'll do just for the comfort of holding that block. We don't want to do that with these wings. We're going to use every bit of width that we have, including that corner. Don't remove that corner, folks. All right? So now we've got our notch in there for the bottom of the wings. And now we're going to take some of this material out right here from the base. Well, actually, let's go ahead and put our base in there. To do that, just come onto your corner, rock that knife, put some pressure on it, carve up to it. Let's put a notch in each corner. And one more. Cool. All right, now we'll just kind of connect the lines, make our stop cut. Again, put your blade on the line, put some pressure on there, rock that blade, get yourself a stop cut, and then cut up to it, just like that. And you do that on all four sides. This is very quickly going to give you some reference points for your base of your piece. Now, again, if you're carving from a block, you've already cut it out and it's already 2 1/4, you can probably fast forward through this part. You don't need to know this. All right, so we have some notches in there. We know where the base of our piece will be. Now we'll go ahead and take out some of this material here and right here. Being careful now not to cut into those wings, right? And with the base of this, let me just show you real quickly. You'll see that the bottom of the angel is kind of flared out, right? As you would expect that a dress or a gown would do. So it's not straight down. So when you're making this bottom piece here, take your pencil, kind of flare that out a little bit on each side. You can see how I've got that here. Make it look natural. So we're going to spend some time shaping. And I'll tell you something. You've probably, if you've seen any of my other videos, you've probably figured out by now that I put a lot of importance in this part of the process. The shaping is your foundation of everything else you're going to do. And it's the thing that many beginners unfortunately, don't spend enough time on. They want to get to the details and start cutting in details way too soon. Shaping is important, and that's why you see such a market for rough outs. You see carvers buying rough outs and using rough outs. I'm just going to take this corner off right here. Using rough outs. So a rough out is just exactly that. It's a piece that's already been shaped for you. And that's great. No harm in that. But that shaping is really, really key to being successful. So we've removed that material on both sides there. Now, what we're going to do is kind of draw in some lines for angling our face and hands. So what I want in the end, hopefully you can see a profile view. How am I doing there, Sonny? Is that good? Okay. Sonny gave me a thumbs up, folks. So we've got this part for the hands. There's a gap, and then we have the face. And in the end, I want that face, that head, to be angled somewhat, right? And I want the hands angled as well, like that. Just like that. Not a lot, just a little bit of a bow in the head, an angle to the hands. So to do that, put a glove back on. We're going to make a slight angled cut from each side. Now we're not going to need much depth there, folks, right? Just a little bit. To start, we're going to come to this space, right? We've got that 1/8 of an inch between the chin and the top of the hands. We'll just put in a shallow stop cut. We're not going down very far, just a bit. Then I'll come from the bottom of the hands, bottom of the triangle, right here, and carve up to that stop cut. And I come to the top of the forehead, not the hair, top of the forehead, and angle down to that. And that's going to give us some of that shape we're looking for, right? We're going to have the hands and the face somewhat angled. Pretty easy, not too difficult. Next thing we'll do is start removing some of this material from the top. I'm going to come up here to the top of the hair, put in a stop cut, and take off some of this material between the wings. Now you can see we're getting up into the end grain. A little bit more chatter coming off the blade. I'm going to turn that around and take some more material from the back. Okay, so I think we're doing well with getting our shape worked out. Next thing we'll do is put in a line. Just come down to whatever the lowest part of your arm would be. Usually it's going to be around where the elbow is. So whatever the lowest part of that is, put in a stop cut. And then bring that stop cut over to your center line on each side. Just like that. And we'll start shaping the bottom of our angel here. This helps us bring the arms out, get the depth that we're going to need to be able to show the arms and the depth of those arms. And of course, it helps us to round our piece. When we're working off the corner like this, we want to make sure that we get this rounded look. We don't want a square angel. And we're also taking off these bandsaw marks. We don't want those. They do not look good. All right. A little bit more shaping. And you can see already we've got some real depth now coming along for those arms. Our next piece that we'll do is sort of this little triangle where the arms meet. We're going to come in here with the blade, get the point of the knife in there, turn the piece this way, put the knife in the position where we want it, put that point down in there, just like that, and then come up from below to take out the triangle. Now, this being a really small carving, we have to be sensitive to how deep we go with our cuts. We want to be careful, okay? Now, before we proceed any further, what I'll want to do is redraw my hands and face. After we made those angle cuts, we want to put the reference marks back in. So I know that this is the gap that was there before. I know that the bottom of the face would have been about here, and the top of the hands would have been right around here. Yep, that's Oliver. He's talking. Okay, folks, so that's a pretty good spot for us to end this segment. We'll pick up in the next segment. I'll probably switch to a blade that's a little bit smaller than this 1 3/4. It's wider than my piece, but we've got the shape roughed in. So I'll switch to another knife, and we'll pick up with the next section. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that like button, folks. That seems to help. We'll see you next time. La 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 la. A little bit of Lexus.
I'm totally leaving that in.